Hello everyone, welcome to another Android beginner tutorial. In this tutorial, we are going to download and install Android Studio. Android Studio is the official IDE for Android, which means you can type in some Java code or Kotlin code and build Android applications to publish them in the Google Play Store or something similar. To get Android Studio, go to developer.android.com/studio and you would see this page. At the time of recording, the latest version of Android Studio is 3.0.1 and I'm going to download that by clicking this big button. Let's agree the terms and conditions and click download Android Studio. Now it's a big size download and it's going to take some time. I'm going to get a drink until it downloads. By drink I mean tea. Now Android Studio is downloaded. Notice that since I'm in Windows it's a .exe file. For Mac it will be a .dmg file and you can install it on a Mac as similar to the other applications. I'm going to click to open the .exe file to install it on Windows. So let's click next, and I'm going to give the default file location. You can change it to whatever you want, but I prefer the default. And click install for it to install. Now since it's a big file, it's going to take some time to install. I will catch you at the end of the install. The installation is now completed and I'm going to click the next button here. And it asks me if I want to start Android Studio. I'm going to leave that checked and click finish. Since I do not have an earlier version of Android Studio, I'm going to hit do not import settings. If you have an earlier version of Android Studio installed, you can click this option. Okay, Android Studio is opening. I'm so excited to teach Android Studio to you guys. Click next and we want it to be standard. These are the themes that you could select and I'm gonna click the white one as it looks much more pleasant to me, but you can choose whatever you want. We will be setting up Android Virtual Device at a later tutorial. For now I think we can keep it. Since there's a white space in my name and which is in this location, it does not allow me to install the SDK. So I'm going to give this an alternate location. I'm going to say users default documents. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to click next. And after this will download all the SDK related components that needs to be installed. I'm going to click finish for it to download and install. I will see you guys at the end of this download and install. The SDK components have been installed now. It asked for permission a couple times and just give accept. And I'm going to hit finish now. That's it. We have successfully installed Android Studio. We are going to talk about how to start a new Android Studio project. So when you open Android Studio, a window similar to this opens and I'm going to click start a new Android Studio project as we are starting a new one. And this window shows all the basic details of your application and you can fill in whatever you want your application name to be. I'm going to leave this as my application and it asks for your company domain. You can give that if you want one. Notice that these are required for the package name. So the package name is the unique identifier that the Play Store uses to identify your application. If someone else has a package name similar to this, then it will not allow us to have this package name and we have to change this. Don't stress about the package name too much for now. We can change this later whenever we want. So I'm just going to leave this as such. And since there are white spaces in my name, it throws an error. I'm going to try fixing this. I'm going to select a different directory. I'm going to click C, users, public, documents, and then click my application, which is the application name. And notice that the error is gone. So in case if you have some kind of white spaces in the project location, you can fix that by doing this. And once you have given that, we can click next. And in this window, you can select the minimum SDK or the API version that you want your app to support. So there are so many different Android versions mentioned here. We can select whichever we want. If we select Oreo, at this time, there are very less devices here and your app won't be supported in most of the devices. So it's better that we support something that's pretty decent. I'm gonna click KitKat, and with that it will approximately support 90.1% of the devices. We can change this whenever we want, so we're not gonna worry too much about this. And I'm gonna click next here, and this window gives us all the options of the different types of activities that we can open from. Activities are essentially pages in an Android app. So whenever you open an Android app, you can see a page, right? So that page is called as an activity, and we want an empty activity to be created. And if we want some kind of activities for different Android apps, we can select from these options, but I'm going to stick with the empty activity now. I'm clicking next, and for most of the Android apps, you can say that main activity is the activity from which the app opens, and I'm going to leave this as such. We're not going to change this. And let's click next. Let's wait for Android Studio to open this, and let's click finish. Now Android Studio has finished building the project for us, and you could see this is the main Android Studio window. And Android Studio usually gives us tip of the day, and it's pretty useful, but I'm going to close this for now. So this is the Android Studio setup, and please don't let this intimidate you. We're going to go through what each of these items are in a bit, and before that there's still some platforms missing. I'm going to click this and install the missing platforms. Let's click accept. Let's wait for the platform to be installed. So now the Android SDK Platform 26 has finished installing. I'm gonna click finish, and there's another build tool that needs to be installed. I'm gonna click that to install it. Let's wait for this to download and install. Now the build tools have also installed. I'm gonna hit finish here. Let's wait for Android Studio to complete gathering all the resources. So now Android Studio has finished building the app for us. Now let's set up an Android virtual device, also called as an AVD, so that we could run the app on that device to test it. Let's click the AVD emulator button here. It says AVD Manager. I'm going to click on that. Let's press Create Virtual Device. Let me make this window a little bit bigger so that we could see it clearly. And here you could see all the devices that are available. You can see the Nexus 4, Nexus 5, Nexus 6, and here you could see Pixel, and I'm going to click Pixel. Let's click next, and here it asks for which API level you want to be installed in that. I'm going to click Marshmallow, as it's pretty decent. Let's wait for this to be downloaded and installed. Once the SDK is downloaded, I'm going to click finish, and now when we select Marshmallow, you can click next, and here it asks for what is the name and all the details. I'm going to leave everything as default and click finish. And now you could see all the virtual devices mentioned here. If we want to create a different device, we can do that here, but we're going to run this device. So you can see actions. It says launch this AVD emulator. Let's click that, and the emulator is starting to run. Okay, you can use this device like you use a normal device. And let's try to run this app. So when everything's set up properly, you can see this play button, which means run app, and you can select whichever device you want to. And since we have the Pixel here, I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to click install. So the app is building for us. Let's wait for it to build, and then it will start running automatically. So here, as you could see, this is the Hello World application that opens as default. That's it for this tutorial. I will see you in the next tutorial. This is Alex Vijayaraj. Have a good one.